Adam, you've exceeded the limit on ingenious toaster designs. Time to crank it up a notch and...
Welcome you to Engineer vs. Designer,
the podcast.
Fueling the design process for engineers, designers, and those who love the crunchy yet satisfying taste of sheet metal. My name is Adam, industrial designer of CADjunkie.com.
And my name is Josh, mechanical engineer of SolidSmack.com.
This week we have a special guest, design engineer and blogger, Anna Wood of SolidMuse.com.
And 3D render freak at RenderBay.com.
Anna, if you could run through a swimming pool filled with any known substance and come out completely unscathed, what substance would that be?
I don't know. Let's make it a Jell-O-filled pool.
Okay. Josh, peel back our eyelids and moisten our ocular membranes with the saline solution of knowledge. What have you got for us this week?
This week's SolidSmack News is brought to you by KeyShot. KeyShot 3 introduces an all-new animation system and render rockin' UI updates. Check out all the new features at KeyShot.com. Some hot new multi-threading tech has been developed by a team of researchers at Columbia Engineering School.
Always thinking those guys.
Well, programs like 3D rendering, some modeling programs, and a vast majority of others that take advantage of multi-threading are becoming more common. So the new software, Peregrine, optimizes the multi-core right out of this.
Peregrine computes a plan for the thread, letting them know when they can pass each other, preventing collisions and the lag, bugs, and annoyances that crashes can otherwise result in.
Exciting. It works with existing program languages, and the cool thing is that once it's computed a good plan for the changing those lanes, it can reuse that plan on subsequent operations, speeding up the process on multiple levels. Find out more at columbia.edu.
HP is taking 3D out of the printer, making it possible to scan your object with their new 3D scanner. It's the Top Shot LaserJet Pro, and it'll scan the hell out of whatever you slap on top of it in full multicolor to boot.
Nice! Now, most of you create renderings with computers and HDR environments, but with wool? We'll leave it up to a couple of designers to convert a 2D ink drawing to physical 3D forms using wool.
Yes, but 3D software was in the mix. First, they modeled the space in order to position the framework of fishing line that would support the woolen geometry. This created a net along the floor, ceiling, and wall, which...
Oh, they used to glue tape and Velcro sections of the merino wool along. Very cool. They described the application of the wool as a meticulous replication of sketching, which sounds like an incredible way to enjoy the evening. See more by visiting engineer-versus-designer.com. And finally, as you know, we're speaking with design engineer Anna Wood. In a nutshell, Anna, who are you and what do you do?
Well, okay. I'm a mechanical design engineer, computer hardware nut and geek. I've been accused of being a geek, definitely. And in this life, I design stamping, tool, and dies.
Wow.
Very nice, very nice. And you're also into rendering, I hear?
Yeah. Definitely into rendering, and not so much creating the renders as much as have the hardware to run the renders when somebody needs to have their renders done and completed in more than a few hours.
And so, Anna, we're going to talk more to you about that in just a little bit. But first, let's talk a little bit about this Peregrine solution. Josh, what the heck is this?
It's a way to get the multi-threads to act a little better, basically, and
play nicer with each other.
Create conflicts, and not create conflicts with each other. So it's a real problem on the security level, on the processing level right now. But as these are becoming more prevalent, there's going to be a better need to get it lined out.
There's this really interesting thing about parallel processing that, I mean, it actually is, it has been a problem in networking as well. In Ethernet, you know, when you have an Ethernet connection going to a hub, you have a bunch of computers talking to each other. There are these packets of information that fly back and forth between the computers. And they happen at random times. And if two packets happen to collide, which happens all the time, then the computers have to wait a second and then shoot out another one and hope that that one makes it. And so that's why when you get a lot of traffic on a network, it slows way down, things stop working. And the same is true in a parallel processor. You have these processors trying to do work together, but ultimately they are completely ignorant of one another. And so they fight each other and end up wasting a lot of time. So apparently this Peregrine company has figured out a way around that and to make these things play nicer together.
And the same thing happens within the software, which creates all those annoying crashes and lags that you have.
So Anna, you run a render farm. How many cores are you dealing with, and what does this sound interesting to you at all?
Oh man, it sounds awesome. Yeah, I have right now. I'm running like about 88 cores on my render farm between about 13 computers.
Wow.
And yeah, anything that you can do to speed up that processing speed, especially rendering. I mean, that uses your processors to 100%. So
now, when you have your rig, how is it set up? Are they all just separate PCs that are linked together, or are they somehow on a rack together? How do you have this set up?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have multiple computers in a rack, and they've got the network cable hooked up to them through a switch and through a router. So there's a render manager queue, so just to help manage all of that. But there's some traffic definitely over the network and things to keep that all coordinated amongst all of my machines.
And what software do you support?
I am supporting Modo right now, Modo 501.
Okay.
And SolidWorks 2011 and 2012.
Okay, so what is the maintenance like on all that equipment?
It's a little time consuming. That's the one thing that instead of somebody else doing that on their own, having their own farm, I have to install the computers and do all the updates. And when Modo 601 comes out, I'm going to be installing that on all of my computers. So yeah, it's a little time consuming. It's something that I have to keep after and keep all those computers up to speed.
Have you found that as you increase the size of your farm, your performance increases linearly?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Wow.
That's the one thing about rendering is just the more cores you throw at it, it's very much a linear increase in speed, and processing time decreases accordingly. So absolutely, more cores the better.
And you're talking about rendering that utilizes CPU cores over GPU cores.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm mainly set up to do CPU rendering, which is what SolidWorks Modo uses, as opposed to like the bunk speed shot guys that are using GPU rendering.
All right, great. Well, that's all we have time for today. But to everybody out there listening, if you know about something flippin' sweet we didn't mention, we want to know about
Drop us a note to tips@solidsmack.com and show us some love in the comments. You know what I'm talking about.
All right. Adam, if I didn't know better, I would think that you're trying to look ridiculous in that getup.
Yes, I am. Welcome to the CAD Junkie Q&A.
Weekly product design tips, tricks, and training.
My name is Adam.
My name is Josh.
And this week, our special guest is design engineer and blogger, Anna Wood.
Hi, Anna. If you could build a computer around you capable of absorbing everyone's best-kept secret baked bean recipe in exchange for your left big toe, would you do it?
Oh, man, of course. Sounds like fun. Although, I tell you what, I'm not too sure about the cooking thing. I try to stay out of the kitchen. It's kind of dangerous there with me there.
Yes. Adam, the lining of my colon is quivering in anticipation of your quasi-intelligent insight. What's on your mind this week, my friend?
This week's CAD Junkie Q&A is brought to you by
Keyshot. 3D rendering and animation is now easier than ever with the new release of Keyshot 3. Rock those visuals with over 400 new materials and import 19 different 3D file formats on Mac and PC. More at keyshot.com.
Anna Wood, you run a render farm for Modo, and it just so happens that I use Modo and that I'm very envious, very, very envious of your render farm. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. So essentially, how do you have this set up? First of all, why did you choose Modo in the first place? And then, how does this work? What are the logistics here?
Well, I chose Modo because, obviously SolidWorks, the Luxology engine in Modo, SolidWorks uses, and I figured that there's a lot of CAD users out there that would be using Modo, and they're going to need some more computer hardware to be able to run their renders. They do more sophisticated renders. They find that it all takes more time, and they can't maybe do it on their own personal computer. So they can come on to me, and I'm using Dropbox. People shoot me an email, say, hey, I've got these frames to render, and I set them up with a Dropbox account, and we share files, and then I get their scenes going up on my render nodes and drop their frames into their Dropbox folder, and they don't have to run that computer hardware themselves. if they've.
And so are you doing one frame per machine, or are you distributing the frame buckets themselves?
No, actually, it's more efficient to typically for animations just to do a frame per computer, basically, as opposed to sharing buckets. That bucket sharing is a little bit better for like single frame renders when you've got like a 3,000 by 3,000 pixel render, and it's more efficient to share buckets.
So are you using a third party render management software, or are you just using some scripting built into Modo?
No, actually not. I use Deadline from ThinkBox Software. They have an awesome package for a render manager queue that works for a lot of different the render packages that are out there. So that's my tool to manage my farm. Works great.
And you also do PhotoView 360 rendering?
Yes, yes, I do. I have one of my computers. I have a dual Xeon rig that's overclocked, water cooled system it's got like 48 gigs of RAM in it, running at 4 gigahertz, 12 cores. So, and then I have set up to run SolidWorks, and I can run PhotoView 360 on that as well.
Come on, preach it.
This is such geek porn. So if you. So, I mean, but obviously with rendering, there are a lot of efficiency issues as well. You can fix a given problem by upping your processor power, but also by just being more efficient with the way you design your materials and the way you think about setting up your files. Do you ever get a file and you're just like, send it back? You're like, no, this is just silly. It's going to take days to do this. Just fix this, that, and the other thing, and it's going to go a lot faster. Or are you just like, you know what, let's just crunch it?
I work with customers, and we'll do test renders and to work out settings and stuff to kind of balance that quality against speed of render. That's always it's always a consideration. So yes, I do that. We work with customers to do that to get them what they need at the cost they'd like to have in time.
Would you make any what suggestions can you make to people to get their polygon counts down and simplify their models, whether it's SolidWorks or Modo?
And that's probably not an area that I get into too much doing, but a big thing to do is just to make sure that when you do send the files off to a render farm, that you have basically pack and load your model properly, so all your image files are there, everything's set to run, so that when whoever's doing your rendering, they can open the file up and everything's there. And they don't have to be sending emails back and forth that, hey, this file's missing or that or whatever. Make sure all your render settings are set up. Give clear instructions as to what you want to have happen. Those types of things are pretty simple to make that whole process go quicker and easier, go smoother.
So I'll tell you, a lot of times what I do, because I work with Modo, and I actually don't have a render farm tier. But the way I deal with that is I'm actually just very meticulous about how I set up my scenes and materials, and do a lot of work to make sure that I'm using materials that will not take as long. But it would be nice to be able to just ship off my my stuff. Maybe on my next project I should give you a call, Anna. All right. Well, to all you CAD junkies out there, if you have tips and tricks you would like to share with the world via CAD Junkie Q&A, please drop us a note at tips@cadjunkie.com.
And if you want to send us hate mail, feel free to send it to adam@cadjunkie.com. He welcomes that kind of thing.
I do. So this week, we're talking to Anna Wood, a design engineer and blogger at solidmuse.com and the purveyor of render power behind renderbay.com.
Anna, I am almost positive, has superhuman powers. She's involved in everything from product design for precision components, hardware building, software speccing, to community blogging and render farming. It's crazy.
Good gravy, Anna. Okay. So you actually started as a product designer in the car industry. What started you down that road?
Well, I tell you what, my father was a designer in the automotive industry, and so I inherited the designer genes from him and just kind of followed his path in the design world.
So what were you working on?
I worked at General Motors in the truck group, so I did a lot of Class A surface design, interior.
Oh, no kidding.
Instrument panels, seats, yeah. So, yeah, definitely. I did a little bit of time at design staff at General Motors, where they do the clay models and everything, doing that surface development work and stuff like that.
So did you work with the clay models? Did you work in the clay models, or what software was were you using at that point?
Oh, at that point, yeah, I didn't work with the clay models per se. That that was the artists they're doing that stuff. But we used General Motors corporate graphic systems. It was a system that they had developed back in the day for doing wireframe and surface development, black and white screens. I first learned with a light pen on a screen. Yeah,
wow.
so mouses and color were like the coolest thing when we got it back in the day.
Anna, I have been acquainted with you for quite a while, and I didn't know that. I didn't know you did Class A surfacing, particularly way back in the day when you had to know your stuff. So you really must know this stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. It's been an interesting. Well, actually, to be honest with you, I learned it on a drafting board, and then transitioned into computers. So yeah, I've kind of seen the progression to what you can do today on your personal computer that you spend maybe $1,000 on. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, are the ways that you think and work differently now, or is it just kind of faster and more convenient?
A lot of it's faster and more convenient. I definitely a lot of the skills that I learned in the ways that I think, I still carry on. Just especially from my board days, I use that stuff every day with the CAD work. It's just a lot. There's no eraser dust on the drafting board that I have to sweep away, and it's a lot cleaner that way. Definitely, you can make mistakes in nanoseconds, but then you can clean them up in nanoseconds too.
Yeah, but I mean, do you ever miss it, honestly? I mean, or no?
I do. There's a lot to be said for having a 20-foot piece of Mylar out in front of you that's a blank piece of paper, and you have to lay it out properly. And there's an artistic work and everything, and you have to be right the first time, because once you lay that down on the drawing, you don't have an erase button easily.
That's something that people don't understand today. They're not getting trained in that kind of stuff anymore, and it really is an art form. It's missing. So now you're a design engineer in the precision manufacturing industry, and you do tools and dies. How did those skills transfer over to this?
It transferred over pretty well. I got an extremely good education in the business when I was I spent about 20 years in the automotive industry, and I got excellent training and good design fundamentals, drafting fundamentals. I knew sheet metal well, obviously, because I designed all of that Class A surface and stuff. Door panels and hoods and, body sides and everything. So to transfer into actually making the parts was relatively easy. I had the design fundamentals. I just needed to learn about tool and dies and just the idiosyncrasies of design and tool and dies. So it was a relatively easy transition. I'm very thankful for my training in the automotive industry. It served me well.
So, I mean, and on top of all of that work, you also help to spec and maintain all the software and hardware that you use?
Yeah, yeah. That's the cool thing about my job. We're a small enough company that that we have IT people, but in our engineering areas, I get to basically pick out all the computers and have some influence in the software that we buy. And then when the computers come on in, I get to set them all up and get them on the engineers' desks. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to get hot hardware for our engineering group.
And the company you work for is Our Precision, correct? Is that the way to say it? Our Precision?
Yep.
And what exactly do you guys specialize in?
Oh, man, that's a hard one to say. We do a lot of different things, but we do metal stamping. Our big specialties, though, is what we call thin film stamping, Mylars and plastics. This is real high precision tools. We might have 400 or 500 punches in a tool that might be 15 thousandths diameter punches, and our cutting clearances are like a couple tenths, be like 0.002 inches. So that's just very high precision manufacturing that we do.
Cool. All right. So you've been you have a long history involved with the SolidWorks community also. What have been the highlights of those?
Oh, the best thing in the world is SolidWorks World. I absolutely love it. It's fun to go. Yeah, it's fun. You go, you get to go to SolidWorks World once a year, and you get to meet everybody that you've been talking with online and whatever through the year, and share a beer with them, share a meal with them. It's a great time. San Antonio last year was an absolute blast, and I'm really looking forward to going to San Diego in 2012.
Now we've
event.
mentioned RenderBay.com a couple of times on this show already, but this is a new business for you. You just started it, and there are a lot of render farms out there, but you're approaching it a little bit differently, I think, and helping specific software users in a different way. Can you tell us a little bit about what differentiates RenderBay?
Yeah, basically, I'm a small company, obviously, compared to some of the big monster places that are out there. So what I'm hoping is to more personalized service, because I'm a CAD user. Those people that are using SolidWorks or whatever CAD systems that are maybe getting rendering into their pipeline, I can hopefully help them out. And since I understand their use of their CAD software and can hopefully suggest to them ways that they can utilize that rendering and help them out with offering the equipment and the compute time. So I understand their CAD world, so hopefully I can help them out on the rendering side.
Makes complete sense. And with all the software and technology that you're involved with on the ground level, do you see a certain direction that development is going towards?
Well, hopefully, I'm sure that's happening, and which fits in right with the parallel processing thing. It's just taking more advantage of the multi-cores that we have. Especially on the CAD side. I mean, we've got all of these 6 and 12 core systems and stuff, and it'll be nice that the software can utilize that power a lot more than it can today. I'm also really intrigued by the potential future of being able to take, let's say, a point cloud data with NURBS, with maybe some subdivision modeling software, and bring files and bring that all into one package and be able to manipulate all of that. I can go and I can do take my laser scanner and scan some data, or maybe do some modeling in Modo, and then take some NURBS and SolidWorks and easily bring them all together into one software package.
That's
and
so
not go
funny.
through some of the translation issues that you go through today.
Well, and a lot of people it's kind of a hotly debated issue, actually. CATIA did that. They brought in Imagine and Shape into their system, and the guys over at Siemens actually think it's kind of silly. They're like, "What's the point?" So, I mean, I don't think everybody has adopted this yet, but we talked to lots of people, and it seems like it's a popular idea. So, hint to those skeptics out there. I think people really want this.
Yep, definitely.
So Anna, you're talking about a lot of different tools here. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on. People that want to get into the product design and engineering worlds, what do they need to learn? Where do they start? And how should that work? What advice do you have for them?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a great question. I think they need, just some of the basic things. They need some good fundamental math skills. There's still some math that you need to know. Good critical thinking, problem-solving skills. But probably one of the biggest things I think that I suggest to anybody is to get out in the shop and build stuff. And use your hands and build things. Use the mills and the lathes and the woodworking tools, and create your soapbox derby car or your SAE type cars and things like that. The hands-on experience is just so valuable when you go through your engineering career and learn the academic bookwork. Having that hands-on experience, I think is I can't stress that enough for people to have. It adds a lot to your skill set.
Definitely, and that can apply across product design and engineering, no matter who you are.
Oh, yeah, who you are, absolutely, absolutely.
So what do you do when you're not messing around with computers?
You mean there's a life after computers?
Yeah.
Some people say so. I don't know. I'm just trying to find out.
I don't know. I think I need to get out more. So you might find me out at the airport with the
on your way to a computer convention.
Absolutely. No, and I'm not talking the big airport. I'm talking the little general aviation airports.
Oh.
And we are big into aviation too.
Oh,
so that's
cool.
kind of I have my pilot's license. I could go flying if I want, or work on our airplanes or whatever projects that we might have.
So Anna, you started in the automotive design and engineering world way back in the day. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about that and about the skills that you learned that you think are really valuable that maybe you don't get to use today?
Yeah, I started back in drafting in high school. I mean, they hardly teach drafting in high school anymore. I don't even know if they do that anymore these days. So I learned probably by the time I was a senior in high school, I had already had a pretty good handle on doing drawings and detailing and, 3D visualization, being able to visualize a part and lay out the 3 views and those types of skills.
Do you think those skills help you now?
Oh, absolutely they do. Absolutely they do. When we're sitting there and having a conversation about a product or design, and I can visualize in my brain before it's even down on paper what that's going to look like. Those are very, very important skills. Definitely.
So is there anything else? Any other things that you miss about that time?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, this then was as I got into the field. I mean, we just learning. I probably just the drafting skills, the design skills. Just because you have a computer and the computer can't do it doesn't necessarily mean it can't be done. It's just that and having some of those old school skills, whether it's out in the shop working on things yourself or your old school drafting skills, you can still get a lot of design work done. The 747 was, a lot of those types of things, or even, before that, there's a lot of, I like to probably say the moon rocket stuff, the Apollo program. A lot of that was done on a drafting board, with slide rules and whatever. Those are, some awesome achievements that were done. And it didn't, their computing power on the Apollo program was just minuscule compared to what we have today.
And was there more cooperation between the different departments, between engineering and manufacturing and design, whereas today, we're all sitting behind computers, but back then, was it a different approach to the process?
Probably not really, to be honest
Not really?
with you.
You're still sitting behind the drafting board?
Yeah, it's just sitting behind the drafting board instead of having a computer screen in front of you. So, yeah, I wouldn't say the business has changed that much that way. A lot of those fundamentals are still there. The workflow through an engineering drafting department, a design department, those types of things haven't really changed all that much. You can iterate designs much quicker. Obviously, you don't have to have as many prototypes and things like that because you can take advantage of your simulation, your FEA, those types of tools to do a lot of work up front before maybe you make that first prototype. Those types of things. We can iterate designs much, much, much quicker. If you make a mistake or, it's not going to work, you just throw it out and start over again because you haven't spent weeks upon weeks doing that. Yeah. Those types of things are a definite advantage, I think, in the field today.
You seem to be really balanced in terms of your, nostalgia versus, you're very realistic anyway. You don't seem overly nostalgic, but you do miss the things that actually were better.
Yeah, there was some good times back then. There's no doubt. There's definitely some of that. You know what it is, and a lot of it is for me. There was a definite craftsmanship to what you did. You could roll out somebody's drawing, a 20-foot drawing, and not even look at the title block and know who drew it because there was a certain style, the way it looked and the way it was laid out, and just a craftsmanship. I consider what I do every day is a craft, a trade, as opposed to just a job. And I enjoy my craft, and I like to spend a lot of time with it and understand what I do and improve what I do every day. Whatever the tool I may use, whether it's manual drafting or taking advantage of the CAD tools that we have today.
Well, and for better or worse, the tools that we're using now, these CAD tools and whatever else, these are the craft tools of our time. And so, I know that when I used to work in CATIA at one of my previous jobs, there were definite styles. We worked together very closely, and so we would inherit files from other people all the time and pass things on to other people. It's very collaborative. And you would get a file from somebody, a CATIA file, and know who had done it because you could just tell by the style.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's that even today with the SolidWorks stuff and SolidWorks files and things like that. You can tell. Everybody has their certain signature that they bring to their design work.
Well, Anna, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show with us this week. Even better than the time I was electrocuted twice by a power supply. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, I appreciate chatting with you guys. It was fun.
All right, thanks for joining us once again on Engineer versus Designer. Please remember to cash your checks on the way out. Leave some comments for Adam on proper dinner attire.
And hit us up on Twitter and Facebook if you are so inclined.
Please do.
We'll see you next week, and remember that without designers, engineers would build computers and everything else on the planet out of 1-inch welded sheet plates.
And without engineers, designers would have steel plates in their head after a successful frontal lobotomy. Farewell.